little cab maintenance while it's on auto steer. One thing I cannot stand is a dirty cab. Try to give it a wipe down once or twice a day. Just keep the dust and dirt out. Alright, it's a little better now. Well, I just got word that I won 3rd place in the dry land corn yield contest for the local co-op. I think my yield was 262 bushels per acre. Tell you what, it's a pretty strong yield when 262 bushels gets 3rd place. So proud for the other winners. Not sure who they were. We'll say one thing about my yield contest though. My yield contest entrants are honest. I do the same thing to them that I do the rest of my acres. I don't do anything special. No extra fertilizer or other programs. You know, I just I plant it all like I normally would, and then just try to pick the best spots before harvest to enter in the yield competition. I did not place in the soybean yield contest. I think I had an entry of 82 bushels an acre, and apparently I was 4 bushels shy of making 3rd place in that. So really strong yields around here, although I will say where most of those yields come from is about 45 minutes south of us. We were probably one of the driest, if not the driest locations in West Tennessee this year. I know down south they picked up some more rains that we didn't get, so that might have been the deciding factor. Well, I just recently got done watching the Kiss the Ground documentary on Netflix, and it's a documentary film about the environment, climate change, soil health, you know, agricultural being a solution to a lot of our problems. And I want to say it's definitely a film I would recommend if you're interested in learning more about these principles. A lot of the principles it talks about as far as regenerating the soil, improving soil health, sequestering carbon in the soils, using agriculture as a way to sequester carbon from the atmosphere. It talks about a lot of principles that we actually use on our farm and are big believers in. You know, here for going on 7 years now, we've used high biomass cover crops, we've used manures and other methods to basically rebuild the soil, which we believe is by far our most important natural resource, and has actually been degraded over the last few centuries from intensive tillage that we needed to raise crops to feed the population. And due to recent technology and advance in the last few decades, you know, we've been able to change the way we farm to minimize the disturbance in the soil and prevent millions of tons of CO2 from being released into the atmosphere. You know, anyway, like I said, if you're interested in soil health, you know, regenerative agriculture, things like that, I highly recommend the movie. It does have a definite leftist slant, and it does use some scare tactics and strong language and other stuff to get its point across. I think the general principles of the documentary are definitely sound, and ones that I think that no matter which way you lean politically are ones that most anybody can get behind and understand and support. In case y'all don't know a lot about our farm, we believe in having something living growing on all of our crop ground all year long. Basically about 11 months out of the year, because there's a period of time when your cash crop is dying and becoming ready for harvest that you know, we don't have anything growing on the ground there, because most of what we plant for cover crops is not planted until immediately following harvest. But 11 months out of the year, we try to have something growing on our ground to improve soil health, to improve the soil structure of the soil, the water holding capacity, sequester carbon from the atmosphere and put it back into the soil. Right now we're actually planting wheat. We're planting this wheat about a week and a half after we actually harvested this field of cotton. So the wheat will be up and growing real soon and it'll be capturing sunlight from now until the time it matures in June. And they'll be sequestering carbon out of the atmosphere and putting it back into the soil from now until June. And in fact, if you look at our soils, what we're planting through, we're actually planting through the residue from last year's cover crop that we planted cotton into. And this residue is still lying on the soil, and it's providing armor for the soil. It's helping to prevent any kind of soil erosion. It helps mitigate any kind of drastic temperature fluctuations. And it's a real nice carbon source for all the microorganisms that are living in the soil now. Soil erosion right now is probably one of the most severe, if not the most severe problem that any kind of row crop producer faces, because once that topsoil is lost, it takes years and years to rebuild that topsoil. And we've already lost many tons of topsoil from each acre all across the U.S. And even if we start the regenerative practice now, it's going to take a long, long time to rebuild that topsoil. So our goals on this farm right now is to, number one, stop any kind of soil erosion from happening. Let's go ahead and keep what's already here. And then number two, do everything we can to speed up the process on rebuilding our topsoil to making new topsoil. And cover crops and manure, anything that captures carbon out of the atmosphere or puts carbon into the soil is a practice that we utilize to do that. We've seen real big benefits over the years of doing that. So anyway, the Kiss the Ground documentary just gives you kind of a snapshot of a lot of the principles that we believe in and trying to apply to our own farm. While it does have a lot of scare tactics and has a definite propaganda, and it doesn't put modern agriculture in necessarily a positive light, because there are a lot of farmers out there that have transitioned to no-till, that are using cover crops, that are using manures. We're not near as bad as what the documentary tries to make us out to be. But every farmer out there can stand to improve in some ways. So I encourage you to watch the documentary and watch out for some of the facts that they present. Hold some of those facts as a grain of salt, but really focus on the principles of the documentary.
So my job when Matt plants wheat is to come and grab the seed tender from wherever it's sitting, take it back to the shop, fill it up from the bigger seed tender, and then take it to where he's at. Zach is spreading fertilizer, and the fertilizer truck stays with him. So that's what I'm doing. So I have to back it up, line it up, start that up, and then kind of do both jobs. Back up and make sure it doesn't overflow and spill best you can. So you turn on the discharge, and then you turn on the belly, and you come over here and get the wheat. But this one is getting stuck. I'm gonna have to bang it out. Come on. This one to go to. He's Mary and Joseph. Come on. Oh, there he goes. Grab it from the back this time. And we're gonna put about 8,500 to 9,000 pounds in it. Try not to get the weed on me since I'm allergic to it. Best as I can. Kind of a glamorous job, no?
Now, earlier today we checked some of the wheat that we first planted when our cotton picker broke down. Been planted almost 2 weeks, about a week and a half to 2 weeks, and it is up to a really good stand. Really excited about the potential for this year's crop, and hopefully this later planted wheat will come up to a real good stand also. I know we're planting into some ideal conditions as far as soil moisture and temperature. Got pretty warm soil for this type of year, so the wheat ought to germinate quickly. The soil has some moisture enough to germinate, but it's not. It definitely doesn't have too much moisture, which is something we've dealt with the past few years. So, really hoping that this wheat crop gets off and going to a quick start. I got some great news. Big relief. Just got a call from H&R AgriPower, and they are getting close to getting done on the combine. Just got to replace the windshield, I think one wiring harness, and the unloading auger. They said small possibility they'll get done late tomorrow, which will be Friday. Worst case should be Monday. Pretty early, so we should get done planting wheat either late tomorrow or first thing Saturday morning. The combine's not ready. Having half a Saturday and all of Sunday off, it ain't gonna be the worst thing in the world. I know we need it. So getting a day and a half off before we go make the final push to get some beans done is something I can live with. Just to have the news that my combine's almost done. I'm not going to have to rent another one or pay somebody else to get my crop out to get finished up. It's just can't begin to describe how big of a relief it is. And also on the plus side, I get to run the combine again this year, and if there is something hidden on it that didn't show up on inspection, you know, I've got all winter to deal with it. You know, we're not the machine will be run and tried before we get into wheat harvest next year. So if for some reason the combine has suffered some severe damage in the gearboxes or final drives or frames that we haven't seen, hopefully that kind of thing will pop up. And like I said, this winter we can either make repairs or we can trade for another machine if we decide we need to go that route. So I'm just super happy right now. Well, Zach's been hard at it spreading fertilizer today in front of the planter. He should get all the ground covered by the time we go home tonight. And then tomorrow, him and Kelly will be spending all day spraying behind where we've already planted with Roundup and Residual. All right, we got moved over to the next farm and got 24 acres done. Time to fill up again. I gotta move my truck from where it's at because the auger on it is not quite tall enough to fill up my drill. It's a little bit taller, so we're gonna move the seed tender over onto the side of a hill. Just gives me some more reach and makes it a whole lot easier to fill up the drill. Oh, looks like we're gonna need some four-wheel drive. So it's got a whole lot more reach now. Makes it a whole lot easier to fill the drill up as tall as the drill is. Well, I don't mind working late into the night when the Tennessee Titans are playing and on the radio. Mike Keith has got to be the best play-by-play radio guy I've ever heard. And I can watch it too. Well, I hope we beat those Colts. They've been a thorn in our side for ever since Peyton Manning was there.
Gaskowski on the year, 11 of 18. Snap, set, kick. Good! He's hit 6 from outside 50. Stephen Gaskowski makes it 10-3 Tennessee, 11-12 to go in the first half.
All right.
Home store.
Well, finally I had to turn the game off. Apparently nobody told the Titans they had to play after halftime. I guess they left to go to downtown 2nd Avenue in Nashville or something at halftime because they sure as heck didn't show up the second half. So anyway, we got about 13 more acres of seed in the box before we run out. We got a test plot to plant first thing tomorrow morning, so trying to get this seed run dry so we don't have to vacuum out very much seed in the morning. It's a little after 10 and so far we've covered about 105 acres so far, so we've had a real good day's worth of running, gotten more done than what I originally planned. So even though we're going to spend a little time planting test plots tomorrow, hopefully we won't be working too late into the night tomorrow night to get done. Well, it is now 10 after 11. The box is empty, ready to plant test plots in the morning. So I'm going to call it a day, head to the house, and I'll see you in the morning. Well, we're on our way to the field, got loaded up with seed and seed tender. And first thing to do this morning is get test plots planted for University of Tennessee and Pioneer. Then we'll get back and try and wrap up the rest of our acres. I think we got somewhere around 75, 80 acres done. So even with planting the test plots, shouldn't be any problem getting done today, or at least that's the plan. My main concern now is if I'm gonna have enough seed to finish. Well, I know I'm gonna run a little short on the seed that I saved. We ordered 2 more bulk bags of seed, but even that, I think I might be a few acres shy. I might have to use some of this test plot seed to get finished up. We got all of our test plots planted. Got filled back up with seed. We got about another 25 acres on this farm. Kind of worried about the seed, whether I'm gonna have quite enough to finish. So the retailer had about 30 extra paper bags of seed left in the warehouse. I got all that. They're bringing it out, but even with that, I'm worried I might be a few bags short of getting everything covered that I want to get covered. To get everything covered, I need what's in my drill to finish up this farm, and it's going to be tight. I'm going to have to minimize any kind of overlap I've got.
Zach and I are spraying the wheat that Matt planted a couple days ago. Definitely a pretty day. A little chilly. Hopefully we'll get all the wheat that Matt planted a couple days ago sprayed today, and then the rest of it tomorrow. It's hanging out, waiting until he needs a fill up. And then we'll move to the next farm. Always driving a truck somewhere.
Zach was able to get done with fertilizer yesterday, so today him and Kelly are spraying Roundup Insidua where I've already planted. They'll probably catch up to me long before I get done planting, so they might have to wait around a little bit because I got to spray the Zidua on after I plant it. Otherwise, I might incorporate some of the chemical with the drill, and Zidua can hurt wheat germination if it's incorporated into the soil before the wheat starts germinating. So gotta wait till I get done to spray it. We got some dust rolling. Haven't seen any dust rolling behind the drill this late in the season in several years, so we planted into some really good conditions. This wheat has a chance to get off to an optimal start. Just got done filling up a seed again, and yeah, it looks like we're definitely going to be a little short on seed. I called to try and get a few more bags of seed, and apparently there has been a ton of wheat planted in this area this fall. Record numbers, and there is no more wheat left to be had unless I go with like some VNS wheat, which would be variety not stated, generally lower quality, cheaper wheat. And as much as it costs to put in an acre of wheat, you know, the inputs are the same regardless of how good the variety is. So looks like with that last 12-acre farm, unless I got enough seed to do the majority of it, we just might have to leave that last farm out of and put some full season soybeans on it next year. So that's the plan anyway. So we got 4,000 pounds of seed in the drill. We got another 3,200 pounds in the seed tender. And once it's planted out, we're done with wheat planting.
Alright, so cotton's out, wheat's in, and I'm going back behind the drill and spraying a little herbicide so we can kill out all this volunteer rye that's trying to pop up from the cover crop from last year, and trying to kill out a little poana that'll pop up behind the cotton crop. So, get the finishing touches, got the last 15 acres to spray, and hopefully this will be the last time this sprayer's got to be pulled out of the shed until January, whenever first round of fertilizer is.
Alright, well, it's definitely confirmed we had 7 acres left on the last farm. We got 30 acres to go. We got about 35 acres worth of seed left, so definitely not going to have enough seed for the last farm, so going to have to cut it out, put some full season beans on it. Not really what I was wanting to do, but it's what we got to do this year. We also ran 30 acres shy on chemicals, so Kelly's running by Helena right now to pick up another jug of Zidua. So don't exactly know where my calculations went wrong, but apparently my math skills have declined in the last month. Anyway, we're about to get started on this 30-acre farm. Won't get done before dark, but it should be a fairly early night for us, especially compared to last night. Also, just talked to the service manager at the dealership where my combine's getting repaired. He says we're still on track to be ready on Monday. Keep my fingers crossed. So I'm gonna head up there Monday, and while they're buttoning up the last few things on the combine, I'm gonna spend a couple hours getting it changed over to soybeans, adjusting the vanes, taking the straight bars out, and a few other things. So as soon as it's done there at the shop, we can drive it back to the house and hook up the header and go to the soybean field and get finished with this crop. Also, while we're up there, the dealer for the 12-row corn head that I demoed is also up there, and that head that I demoed is actually for sale. The demo head is about $18,000 cheaper than what a brand new corn head is, and that brand is actually significantly cheaper than just about any other brand. Plus, I run it, I really like that corn head, so that's what we're leaning towards. Alright, we're running out of seed, so got 3,200 pounds left in the seed tender. Ought to finish up this farm no problem. About 6 acres left over. Got a little bit of cover crop we need left we need to plant, so we're going to go ahead and fill up for the last time this year with wheat seed. Well, after doing some more calculating, and the scales was off just a tad on my seed tender. If I cut back the rate on the drill 10-15 pounds an acre, really shouldn't have too much effect on yield, and might be able to stretch what seed I've got left to get over that last 12-acre farm. So I cut it back about 6/32 of an inch, and we'll see how far it gets us. Alright, well, we've gotten started on our last farm. We've gotten 4 acres done of it. Got about 7 more to go. Big question is, will we have enough seed to finish? Well, we still got seed coming out of all the seed cups. Maybe we'll look up and get this farm finished. Well, it looks like we run dry in a couple seed cups. We'll get back here and see if there's any seed we can shuffle around and stretch it out over the last acre or two. Oh no, not on that side to shuffle off. Yeah, we got a little bit there we can shuffle around. I got it evened out about as good as it could. Not gonna be quite enough to finish this farm, but ought to get me pretty dang close. All right, here it is. Last pass of wheat 2021. And as I speak, I've got 2 or 3 cups running dry. I don't care for cutting it that close, but at least it worked out this time. Well, I got everything but that little bitty 1 acre field right there done. But that little bitty 1 acre field would not make much of anything because it's wet and surrounded by shade. So really don't care that it doesn't get planted. Well, that's 2 major things done in 1 week. All we got's 1 more thing to do before we are wrapped up in the fields for the year. We got cotton done 3 days ago. Got done planting wheat today. All we like is 500 acres of soybeans, and we'll be able to call it a wrap on the year. But first we got to get our combine back. Hopefully the service manager wasn't telling me a tale, and we'll be able to pick it up Monday and roll right into beans. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go park this thing under a shed, go grab a bite of supper and shower, and reckon tomorrow on Saturday, Carter and I are going to begin the always look forward to task of cleaning up the cotton picker, picking all the lint off of it and getting it ready for the wash pad. Appreciate all y'all watching, and we'll see you in the next video.